Most people think of the United States when they think about democracy. But in the last few decades, countries around the world have been experimenting with new ways to make their democracies stronger. They've tested new voting systems, new ways for citizens to participate, and new tools to fight misinformation. So today, we're asking, what can democracies learn from one another? Every democracy looks different, but they all share the same purpose: to represent citizens fairly and protect their rights. In recent years, democracies everywhere have faced new challenges. Throughout this course, you've explored a variety of challenges that citizens and institutions face in a democracy. What are some of those challenges? Today, democracies face big challenges like political polarization, misinformation, and declining trust in government, all of which threaten to weaken the connection between citizens and their leaders. To respond, many nations have begun experimenting with new reforms to strengthen democracy. In Finland, schools have begun using a media literacy curriculum to teach students how to evaluate sources and recognize misleading information. In Ireland, citizens' assemblies bring ordinary people together to discuss major national issues and make recommendations to lawmakers. And in the Philippines, youth councils give young people official roles in local government, helping them learn how democracy works and how to participate in shaping it. Looking at these three examples together, what similarities or trade-offs do you notice? Maybe you said that each country is trying to help make citizens more informed and involved. And you might have thought the trade-offs might be adapting to new systems or making sure nobody feels excluded. Each of these democratic innovations uses a different strategy, but they all show how governments are working to address the shared challenges that modern democracies face. But there is one idea that lies at the very foundation of democracy itself: voting. In this course, we've defined democracy as a system where people have power, often through voting. Let's take a look at what happened when one country decided to change up its voting system. Australia's government is most often called a constitutional monarchy, or a parliamentary democracy, both of which you learned about in Unit 1. In the early 1900s, Australia faced a common democratic challenge. Its parliamentary elections often included several parties with similar ideas. When those parties competed against one another, they split the vote. Sometimes a candidate with only a small share of support still won, even though most voters preferred someone else. Australia's leaders wanted elections that better reflected the will of the majority. What changes to a voting system might help solve this problem? Maybe something you've seen before in this course? Australian leaders chose to introduce a system called preferential voting. Instead of choosing just one candidate, voters number each candidate in order of preference: first, second, third, and so on. If no one wins a majority of first-choice votes, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, and those votes are transferred to the next preferences listed. The process of whittling down candidates continues until one earns more than half of the votes. Does this process sound familiar? You may recall that in Unit 5, you learned about ranked choice voting, which follows a similar process. How do you think this reform might strengthen Australia's democracy? Preferential voting helps ensure that the winning candidate has broad support, not just the largest single group. It allows voters to choose honestly, knowing their vote still counts even if their first choice doesn't win. It also encourages more respectful campaigning, since candidates often hope to earn second or third choice votes from supporters of their opponents. The result is a parliament that includes a wider range of voices and viewpoints. No reform is perfect. They all have their challenges and costs. What do you think the trade-offs are of the preferential voting system? What might the challenges be? Counting preferential ballots takes longer and can be harder to understand at first, since votes are counted in several rounds instead of just one. Political parties sometimes tell their supporters how to rank candidates, which can make the process feel less independent or more confusing for voters. And while the system encourages cooperation, it doesn't automatically erase political division. Despite the trade-offs, Australia's adoption of preferential voting is a great example of a government adapting to its democracy's changing landscape. In Unit 5, you heard that some places in the US are experimenting with ranked choice voting. Guess what? The idea for that system was inspired in part by Australia's preferential voting system. States such as Maine and Alaska now use ranked choice voting in some elections, and other cities are beginning to test it too. When you studied the Electoral College in Unit 5, you saw that in some US elections, the winner of the presidency didn't actually win the popular vote. Like Australia's old system, this raises questions about whether election results always reflect what most voters want. If the US adopted a system like Australia's for national elections, what might some of the benefits be? What about challenges or drawbacks? You might have said that it could give voters more choices, make election results more representative, or reduce political division. Or maybe you thought about how long it would take to count the ranked votes for hundreds of millions of people, or that it might be challenging to teach voters a new system. This is why reforms are not a one-size-fits-all solution for every democratic nation. Significant changes must be shaped by and responsive to the citizens whose lives they'll influence. But at the same time, democratic nations can learn from one another's innovations, trials, and errors. That shared learning is how democracies grow stronger together. Australia's story is just one example of how a democracy can evolve to better represent its people. In the US and around the world, democracies are experimenting and finding new ways to build trust and strengthen participation. They all face challenges like polarization, misinformation, or unequal participation. Each one must find its own way to respond. The good news is that democracies can learn from one another. Some are experimenting with new voting systems that offer citizens more choices. Others are creating ways for people to take part directly in decision-making. And in some places, young people are being given real roles in government, so their voices are heard early. Each of these innovations reflects a shared belief. Democracy is stronger when it keeps learning, improving, and listening to its citizens. If democracies can learn from one another, what is one lesson you think the United States could share? And what's one lesson it could learn? No democracy is perfect, but each one offers lessons that others can learn from. When nations share ideas and adapt good ones to fit their own people, they help democracy grow stronger everywhere. The strength of any democracy depends not only on its institutions, but on the people who believe they can make it better. By learning from one another, we can all play a part in keeping democracy alive, fair, and strong for generations to come. Remember, this is your world. Let's work together to make it better.
Hey!